Have you ever wondered what happens when the person you trust most chooses freedom over you? When a single cry from your baby shatters your entire world? That night, her husband walked away without looking back, leaving behind the woman who loved him and the daughter who had only just begun to breathe. But fate is strange. It rarely leaves a wound without weaving in a thread of hope. When a silent rancher, scarred, withdrawn, yet unshakably kind, found them stranded and broken, he didn't ask questions. He didn't need words. His actions said everything. You are not alone anymore. This is not just a story of abandonment. It is a story of rediscovery, of unexpected strength born from betrayal, and of how love can appear where you least expect it. As you follow her journey, you'll witness nights of bitter tears and mornings filled with small victories. You'll see the silent rancher, a man burdened by his own shadows, quietly step forward to offer her something her husband never could: safety, belonging, and an unspoken vow to never walk away. But beneath the quiet kindness lies mystery. Who was this man before he chose silence? Why did he live alone on the edge of the prairie, far from town, carrying secrets in his eyes? This tale promises revelations, each more haunting than the last. It will take you through dusty ranch lands, star-filled nights, and moments of unbearable choice. It will show you how love can heal, but only if one dares to face the past that holds it hostage. By the end, you will not only know her story, you will feel it deep in your bones as if it had happened to you. The wind carried a sharp chill across the Wyoming plains as Clara tightened the blanket around her newborn. The cabin she once called home now stood empty, her husband's boots no longer by the door, his laugh no longer echoing in the rafters. He had left with nothing but a bag and a muttered excuse about needing freedom. Clara never forgot the sound of the door slamming, the sound of her world breaking. She wandered aimlessly for hours, clutching her child, her shoes sinking into the dirt path until she reached a long stretch of land where fences disappeared into the horizon. That's when she saw him, Elias, the silent rancher. Broad-shouldered, with eyes the color of storm clouds, his presence carried both weight and comfort. He didn't smile, didn't speak. He simply offered her a place by the fire in his weathered ranch house. The air inside smelled of leather, hay, and smoke, strangely safe. Clara's heart ached with questions she dared not voice. Who was this man who lived alone in silence? Why did kindness radiate from someone who clearly carried his own scars? She felt a flicker of fear, but also something else, an unspoken hope that maybe, just maybe, life wasn't over. Days turned into weeks. Clara found herself helping around the ranch, feeding chickens, kneading bread, stitching worn shirts. Slowly a rhythm formed, and with it a strange peace. Yet with peace came questions. She noticed scars along Elias's forearms, the haunted look in his eyes when thunder split the sky, the way he avoided town altogether. Neighbors whispered of him as if he were a ghost, a man cursed, a man who had buried his voice along with his past. Each answer she sought only deepened the puzzle. One evening she asked softly, "Why do you live alone?" Elias didn't answer. He simply walked away, leaving her with silence heavier than words. At the same time, Clara's old life clawed at her. Rumors reached her that her husband had gone west, living carefree as if fatherhood had never happened. The betrayal burned afresh. But alongside the pain came something startling, the realization that she no longer missed him. Instead, she found herself watching Elias, his steady hands, his quiet strength. The way he looked at her child as though protecting her was second nature. Still, Elias carried secrets. And Clara knew one day she would have to demand the truth. It happened on a night when the winds howled fierce and the lanterns flickered. A knock rattled the ranch door. Clara froze, clutching her daughter, while Elias's face turned to stone. At the threshold stood two men, their boots muddy, their voices rough. They weren't strangers to Elias. Clara could see it in the way his body tensed, in the way his hand curled into a fist. "You thought you could disappear," one spat. "But debts don't die," Clara's heart pounded. She had never seen Elias like this, eyes blazing, silence shattered by a growl. Leave. But they didn't. And in that moment, Clara realized Elias's past was not just sorrow. It was danger. To stay meant risking everything. To leave meant breaking the only safe haven she and her child had known. There was no turning back. In the days that followed, Clara learned the truth. Elias had once loved fiercely and lost tragically, leaving him bound to grief and hunted by men who saw weakness in his silence. But in Clara and her child, he found something unexpected, a reason to fight again. When the men returned, Elias stood his ground, not for himself, but for them. And Clara, for the first time, saw the man behind the silence, not broken, not cursed, but chosen by fate to protect. Her husband had chosen freedom over family. Elias chose differently. He chose her and her child and the promise of a new life carved out of ashes. Sometimes love does not roar. It whispers in the quiet of sacrifice, in the strength of presence, in the unspoken vow of never leaving. And in that vow, Clara finally found home.